Hello and welcome back to JBCTR, where today we're fitting an induction kit by REVO, but this one is a little bit different to the rest of the ones that have been on the market so far, as it goes all the way back to the turbo. So quite excited about this one.
Lights are shining bright, my friends are in the club, we'll go all night. I see you in the back, the mood is right. If I just had your number, I would let you know how I feel.
Now, firstly, before we start taking the car apart, I think I'd quite like to have a look inside this box because it's been presented rather nicely and I'm intrigued at what the new kit looks like. So let's go in the back and unbox this thing.
It's all about us, it's all about us, as we're dancing close together, making out.
Now, if you are a regular viewer of JBCTR, you will indeed notice that this is not my house nor my driveway, and the reason for that is quite simply because I've done a lot of how-tos recently, and I thought I would borrow someone else's house to give you guys something new and different to look at. So here we are, and this is the REVO kit. So let's get into it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not buying. I'm looking for you, I'm looking for you.
Now, genuinely, I don't do unboxings of car parts because normally they just come in a plain old cardboard box, and it's not very exciting. But REVO have paid attention to the packaging, which I think is kind of important because as a consumer, I'm buying a kit that's quite expensive, and opening it up and taking all the packaging off is kind of part of the experience for me. So yeah, it was kind of nice to see a company within the automotive industry doing that. But that said, now we've got the packaging out of the way, this is the kit. So firstly, you get an aluminium black powder coated crossover bar with some little nubbin stuff to put your sensors on and whatever. We'll find out what exactly plugs into them when it's on the car. You've got a couple of Samco type hoses, a heat shield, the filter, a whole load of Jubilee clips, bolts, and some standoff things. So that's pretty much what you get in the kit. Oh, and some cool stickers, and a QR code to REVO's fitting guide, which of course you won't need because this video is going to be awesome, I hope. Right, so in terms of this kit, in the way in which REVO tend to work is they do a lot of sort of sciencey, researchy kind of stuff to make sure that their stuff really does work and do what you want it to do. So with this particular kit, they did a whole load of flow testing and stuff. They posted quite a lot of it on their Instagram page, so I'll put some of it on the screen now just so you can see what this kit has been through. And I really like that they've taken note of what they found. So if we look inside these Samco hoses, the airflow is going to flow this way across this hose. And I know that because on this end, hopefully you can see, there's nothing. So that means that that's going to connect onto something and then be Jubilee clipped up. On this side, there's a little step on the inside. So that means when we put our metal piece inside here, it will then have a nice smooth airflow through here and there won't be any jaggedy edges. And that means that the airflow into our engine should be nice and smooth and quick and filtered. So yeah, I mean, first impressions are looking good. I guess let's get it in the car. Right then, so first things first is we need to take off this top panel here. That is so we can get to the back of the engine. And to do that, we need to remove firstly the windscreen wipers, get rid of them. And there's like a top bit held on with some clips, and then underneath this bit is then bolted on. So we need to unbolt that, get that out of the way, and then we can start removing the stock system that's in place. Lastly, we need to remove the engine bay cover. That's just a case of hoiking it up and then that should come out. And we can start dismantling the OEM air intake system before putting the REVO kit on.
Sometimes you're a fire, sometimes you're a ghost. Sometimes you can give me all the things that I love the most. Sometimes you're a queen, sometimes you're a curse, and sometimes a whole lot worse. Yeah, nobody's quite like you. Oh.
And this is where it gets a bit fiddly. So first up, we need to unclip the coolant tank. Just 2 clips, one on either side, and that should just give us a little bit more access. Obviously the coolant pipes feeding it are all flexible, so it's literally just a case of moving it out of the way. Then we've got to move on to the breather pipes, unclip that, and then we should be able to start unclipping away from the OEM intake, and then we can start transferring pipes and stuff onto the new REVO kit. So that's when it gets exciting, but this bit I think is going to be a little bit fiddly.
She can't hold on, it's slipping through your hands, and I won't try to understand. It's all gone, under your command, you can't hold on, it's slipping through your hands, and I won't try to understand. It's all gone, under your command,
Right, and we finally got it out. Now this, I'm not going to lie, was a little bit of a pig, mainly because there's so many wires around the back and tubes that you really don't want to disturb, but you have to sort of like wiggle this round, and it was just a bit of a pain, but we're there now. So now we can start installing the good stuff. Yeah. Now, to get this onto the turbo, we first need to install this machined breather take-off hose thing on like that, essentially. So just slides into the silicone joiner. Now here I actually made a mistake, which I didn't realise until a little later. You need to leave a small gap between the end of the silicone hose and the ridge that runs around the breather takeoff when tightening up the Jubilee clip. This is because the breather pipe clamps onto the ridge, which of course it can't do if that ridge is then butted up against the silicone. And then use the smallest Jubilee clamp that was supplied to basically stick it on. Now, turbo pipe, well, the first part of the induction kit closest to the turbo is now in. I've not tightened it up, but the only thing I'd mention about that is make sure that your Jubilee clip is on the right way round, mainly just so you can do it up when we need to. But at the moment I'm not really doing anything up, just to ensure that I can adjust it and ensure that there's correct fitment going forwards. To support the crossover pipe, REVO have supplied this little mount to connect it to the engine block, and this is tightened using a hex key. The crossover pipe can then be attached to the silicone joiner already installed on the turbo end and attached to the newly installed bracket using a sprung washer and a 10mm bolt. Once you're happy with the way in which the crossover pipe is fitting, you can then tighten up the Jubilee clips at the turbo end to lock it into position. Okay, so that is the crossover pipe now installed or tightened up. We're good to go. So next up is heat shield, and essentially you're going to put 2 feet on this end, which you do by putting these little feety things and an M8 bolt and then a couple of washers either side, and then what they do is they sit through the OEM rubber mounting points and then you just slot it in. So yeah, those are the little things there, and then we've also got another little standoff to go on this side as well, and then we can start installing the heat shield. Now, before I install the heat shield, I have a little bit of a confession to make. Now, these little rubber grommets you'll find on the underside of your stock airbox. There's 2 of them, and they go inside these little holy things in here. Now when you install this thing, these little dowels then poke through here, and then that is what holds it tight. Now unfortunately, I have lost one. I've lost it a little while ago, and I keep meaning to go buy another one. So for the purpose of today's installation, unfortunately I'll only be using one, and I'll have to go buy another one as soon as possible, really. I decided to remove my Paint Mods battery cover as it was fouling on the heat shield very slightly, and after that there was only one final step left to secure the heat shield to the OEM air intake pipe. And finally, the kit is installed. I've re-put the coolant tank back on, all the pipes connected to the breather pipe, the takeoffs, the air sensor is all plugged in, so we should be good to go now. Just need to put all of this stuff back in the car to make it look a little bit more like a car again, and we're good. So we're losing the light, so let's do this in double quick time, and I'll talk to you in a second. Hey, so there we go. That is it fitted, and I gave you a little teaser of what it sounds like. Seems to be pretty fluttery, which is quite cool, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. Now, I will be honest, come on, get in there. My original plan was to fit and do a nice little road review all in one video, but the fitting was so much more involved, it's taken me ages to do, good few hours with filming, to be honest. And as you can see, I'm losing the light, so there won't be a road review in this video, but I'll do it as a separate review, which I think kind of might be useful for searching anyway, and I look forward to experiencing this thing. So there we go. If you found it useful, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, wait for the car to get past, the Fiesta, and other car content, then feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
There goes a sight from my soul.